Yeah, this market is definitely interesting. Moderna puts, yeah, I mean, it's only down 2%. That could be a nice idea for today, but I don't know. I always get a little bit worried about those weekend headlines. SPY is turning green here in pre-market. Getting a little bit of a bounce currently. Any thoughts about AMD? None in particular. Got killed on Friday, but let's get started. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. Hopefully everyone had a good Super Bowl Sunday. Enjoyed yourself. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Um, Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Tis Monday of a very busy week. We have a lot of catalysts lined up, guys. First was Bullard this morning. He did spook the markets a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but we were already down 1% in futures trading. And then Bullard came on, took us down 0.6%. And then now we are currently back up a fraction of a tenth of a percent, right? And so we are trying to push into this 441 range, which is where we saw resistance here in pre-market at 441.75. So I think LMT is actually still going to be a nice mover this week, down less than 0.5% pre-market. I still think LMT will be a nice mover. I think it's just, kind of seeing that market wide. Oil's dipping a little bit as well. Sometimes those run in unison. All right, guys, I kind of want to jump straight into things. Good morning. Welcome. Pre-market live. It is Monday, February 14th. Hopefully you guys all had an amazing weekend, as I mentioned. Like I said, we have a week full of catalysts this week. Again, first catalyst, we just had James Bullard, St. Louis Fed president, on CNBC, recapping why he thinks we should hike 50 to 100 points by July. So rate futures, which are very important to pay attention to, that is going to imply the probability that we see certain rate hikes, right? At one point, it was a 100% chance of a 50-point hike in March. Last week, that's what futures were implying, and now they are implying a 66% chance. I saw that go all the way down to 30%. But either way, Bullard obviously spooking the market a little bit. I do think that there's a little bit of okay, was that max negative pain, right? We've had so many bad things that are quote unquote bad things that are happening, right? We have the geopolitical risk, we have inflation, we have Bullard on this morning. I think there's an almost, okay, we've kind of had everything that the market can throw at us get thrown, and now it's okay, now do we really see kind of that relief rally, and then they kind of force all those puts worthless, right? And then maybe further down the line we see a larger correction, right? I've always been saying it'll happen when nobody's expecting it, and it's going to be something that nobody's gonna predict it, right? It will happen, and that's why you have to be careful in this market, in my opinion. And for me, that's why I've been more heavy cash. As far as today goes, I personally do think we see that relief rally first. I think things are kind of at a moot point of where things are calming down a little bit, right? There's a lot of headline risk. I said that on Twitter. Either way, whether you are long or short, one single headline can make or break a year for some people, right? But for most, maybe your month. Point being, you have to be so much more careful at any time. One single tweet, we all know how that feels, right, can take your position from 20% in the green to 50% in the red, right? Because you can see a major market move on one headline right now, right? For example, maybe you're short, and then there's a headline about how Russia is no longer planning to invade the Ukraine. Okay, well, the market's going to rip. And then what happens? Those puts are, really take a quick move down. And the same thing can happen long, right? You can be long playing the bounce, and then headline that this geopolitical factor is happening. Okay, well, the market can turn on a dime. So you have to be very, very careful right now. As far as SPY goes, as far as technical levels, right? I just wanted to start with that because it's a very, very important risk factor right now. As far as SPY goes, it looks like we are going to test this 441.75 level off the open. We saw pre-market resistance here. It's also a bigger resistance level if we look back on the 30-minute chart, right? And so in the mornings when I'm doing my watch lists, this is the first place I go. 30-minute or hourly chart, right? Kind of just depending on the action. Clearly, we have a lot of resistance in this 442 level, right? As we can tell, that's the bottom of this daily this 30-minute candle, right? This is from the end of the day on Friday. If we see a move over 442, right? We should see a nice move up, in my opinion, into this 443, 444 range, right? People are kind of forgetting that this singular move down, right, which was a 5-point move down on SPY, right, when that news came out, happened within one 30-minute candle, right? From one 30-minute candle, we went from 446, right, all the way down to 442 or 441, right? So there's, a 5 or 6 point gap there, and I really do think, even though we do have a lot of these wicks, so we see these big wicks on the 30-minute chart on SPY, that means there was a lot of selling pressure on Friday with that headline coming out. Obviously, SPY couldn't get back over those key levels. Now we are in a new day. We will have to see how SPY acts within those wicks, right? Those wicks stretch all the way up into the 443 to 445 range, 444, excuse me. And I personally like to put a reminder level at the top of these wicks just to remind myself, okay, maybe we get into this gap up, right? And, maybe we reject. It's not going to be somewhere random. It's going to be at probably likely one of the top of those wicks. Regardless, I still think 441.75 is the key level to watch off the open, right? Personally, it looks like we're going to test that level going into the open here. However, you need to remember there's obviously going to be extremely strong resistance here and at that 442 level. If we can make a move over that, then I definitely think we can see a nice little bounce within the market today. If we reject this level off open, then we are likely going to come back down. The major level to hold is this 435.80 level. I've talked about this a lot, but 435.80 is a really big line in the sand, as is 432. To me, this 437 to 439 area is going to be an area we need to see consolidation if we want to see a relief rally. If we see a break below 435.80, 435.80 into this, there is a wick down to 435.20, but again, 435.80, a break below that, I really do think we see that 432 level come pretty quickly. This is a day that you're going to want to make sure you're watching those larger cap stocks, right? One big name to watch today is going to be Apple, right? And the reason why is Apple is going to have a larger influence on how our market is going to, perform. It's one of the strongest assets within those ETFs, right? Like it composes, I believe, 8% of QQQ, right? It's going to have a big impact on how these things are moving. And it's also been one of those stocks that it's just been strong kind of no matter what, right? Like it's really held up really, really well. We're down 0.5% in pre-market. If we can regain this 170 level on Apple, I think the market can definitely see further upside. If we break below 167, we can definitely see a move down into that 161 range. Pre-market lows right at this 165.25 area. I'm going to post this one on Twitter because I think this will be a really nice one to play as far as volume goes. And again, I think that when this move does happen, it'll be a bigger move. If we see that larger downside move within the market, then I think Apple will provide a really nice opportunity to the downside. Now, as far as QQQ is concerned, it's kind of the same story, right? So within QQQ, really the big level here is going to be this, the wicks up are very, it's the same chart as SPY in a sense, right? There's these major wicks up into this 350 level from the headline, right? Again, QQQ, this one saw a 7-point move. This one was already down a little bit more, but when that headline came out, obviously we saw a big move down. We're teetering right even into the open. But again, pre-market highs of 347.90. I'm watching for a move up to see if we can reclaim 350. If we can push over 347.90, I do think there's a pretty good chance that we can see 350 come before the next move, right? But, and then again, over 350, likely can see that 353 level, and that obviously would be a larger scale reversal, right? Now, if we reject 347.90 off open, I would not be surprised to see this come down into the 342 range. We did have some nice buying pressure this morning come in at 343. 342.86 was kind of the level that I was paying attention to as lows, right? Now, I will say that these charts do look like at some point we're going to have to test our January low, right? And if we look at the daily, that January low is that 334.15 mark. That is where we saw that crazy wick up, a ton of buying pressure come in. Was it the start of the quote-unquote correction and then this was the bounce? Maybe. This is definitely an ugly daily candle for the markets. But again, we are pretty oversold right now. And like I said, I personally will feel more comfortable not only to trade the long side, but I'll feel way more comfortable trading the short side if we bounce also, because there's always that relief rally, right? Very seldom is the market just going straight down. Could it happen? Sure. I don't know if that's today though. So those are going to be my focus setups off of open. I do want to mention if we do see more geopolitical headlines, right? Gold is probably one of the better sympathies to that. I know it's a little bit taboo talking about sympathy plays, but there is a reaction for every action that happens, right, guys? So no matter what, there's going to be something, and I think that's kind of the point of this group, right? Is when COVID happened, obviously that is horrible, right? I feel like, but people are still going to buy calls on vaccine names or ventilator names, right? It's the same kind of thing, right? It's the same type of principle. The market is really about money, not about politics or that aspect. So again, 174.68 is the daily level. I am cautious about playing that because I think this weekly resistance is going to be the more important level to pay attention to on gold. But if we do see a break over 175.10, I really do like the gold setup long side. I think that there's been a lot of bullish activity in gold as well. So I like this setup. I'd be watching for dips in 173, but this is a breakout watch for me, right? This one's been consolidating now for a very long time. Maybe it's time that gold has a bigger move, right? It definitely is looking very bullish on that weekly and monthly chart. 187 would be a logical target if we can get over 175. I'll be paying close attention to gold today. It'll be up on my screen. But again, really my focus is SPY QQQ off open. And like I said, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable if we get that relief rally. We were down 6%, almost 7% actually, over the last 2 days of last week, guys. So I'm just always a little bit more cautious. Roblox is making a nice move over 68 here in pre-market. I do want to mention that one. My plan today is, I'm kind of hoping we get that broader market bounce, and then those calls can hopefully run into tomorrow. Earnings is after hours. Relative strength name I will be watching today will be Z. Other than that, I'm going to keep it really simple. On Mondays, you guys know how I like to trade. I really prioritize the indices on Monday. I kind of let the theme and direction develop, and then you can start to look at, okay, well, this had really good relative volume, right? This is having great daily volume come in, and then kind of create a trade plan, mid-afternoon on Monday. So Monday morning, focus on the indices, play those levels to your advantage. This is always, again, a market where you don't need to feel pressured into making a trade that isn't going to be an A-plus setup. I've been so much more patient and selective lately. Friday was actually probably the least selective day I've had in a little while, but being selective is so important right now, and so that is my plan for today. I'm going to go ahead and get that Apple setup posted on Twitter, and then I will see you guys in the room and on the live later today. Have an awesome Monday, guys. Very excited to kill the rest of this week with you. Let's get after it. See you guys on the live this afternoon.